There comes a moment in every survivor's life when the fog finally lifts, when the confusion fades and the truth hits like lightning. You realize you were never the problem. You were simply the mirror that showed them what they refused to see. For so long, you tried to love them better, understand them deeper, fix what was never yours to fix. You believed that if you gave more, they would finally see your heart, but the more love you gave, the emptier you became. That's the spiritual trap of a narcissist. They feed on your light while making you believe you're not enough. But that changes the moment you wake up. Awareness is power. Healing is strength. Freedom begins the moment you stop performing for someone who will never applaud for you. Narcissists aren't just toxic, they're addicted. Addicted to control, addicted to chaos, addicted to the illusion of power. They are spiritual addicts, hooked on the energy of others because they have none of their own. Once you understand what they're addicted to, you stop taking it personally. You stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" and begin realizing they've always been doing it to themselves. If you've been broken, drained, or manipulated, take a deep breath. You are not weak for loving deeply. You were strong enough to see potential in someone who refused to grow. But now it's your time to rise, to reclaim your peace, and to understand the hidden addictions every narcissist carries so you never fall into the same trap again. Control is the heartbeat of every narcissist's life. It's their oxygen, their obsession, the invisible leash around those who love them. They don't see relationships as partnerships, they see them as possessions to own, territories to conquer, trophies to display. From the beginning, they study you carefully, learning your insecurities, dreams, and triggers. They start rearranging your reality until your identity begins to bend toward their will. At first, control looks like care. They'll say things like, "I just want what's best for you," or "I know you better than you know yourself." It sounds protective, but what they really mean is, "I want to decide who you are." Slowly, they create dependency, emotional, financial, even spiritual, until your world starts revolving around their approval. Every decision, every emotion, every bit of peace begins to depend on one question: will this make them happy? The moment you stop feeding that need, the mask slips. The charm turns into criticism. The affection turns into accusation. Because for them, control equals survival. If they can't own your mind, they'll try to break your confidence. If they can't control your emotions, they'll shame your heart. It's never about love. It's about leverage. They use fear to control, guilt to bind, and confusion to weaken. Their power fades the moment you stand firm. Because what they fear most is a person who cannot be controlled through chaos. Fear is their weapon, but peace is your protection. They want you to fear losing them, disappointing them, being alone. But when you place your trust back in your own strength and truth, their hold begins to break. They'll test your boundaries again and again. They'll push every button that used to make you react. They'll use silence to make you chase them, or arguments to keep you hooked. But peace is louder than any reaction. Silence isn't weakness, it's strength and control. It's refusing to play the game they designed to keep you trapped. Narcissists feed on reactions because your emotions are their currency. When you stop paying, their system collapses. This isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. The narcissist doesn't just want to control your schedule or choices. They want to rule your spirit. They want to become the voice in your mind that defines your worth. But only you hold that right. When you reclaim your power through awareness, boundaries, and self-connection, you dismantle the illusion of control they built. It hurts deeply when they lose control, because their attacks are designed to confuse your identity. They'll say things that make you question your memory, your motives, your goodness. They'll project their darkness onto you until you start apologizing for things you never did. It's psychological warfare meant to keep you small enough for them to dominate. But here's the truth: you can't be controlled when you know who you are. When your worth comes from within, manipulation loses its grip. As you begin to stand in your truth, their tactics escalate. They'll call you selfish, cold, or disloyal. They'll twist the story to make you the villain, but for them, it's never about truth, it's about control. Don't waste your energy explaining yourself to someone addicted to misunderstanding you. Clarity is their enemy. Stand firm in your peace and let silence speak louder than their chaos. Control isn't about love, it's about avoiding their own emptiness. Without control, they're forced to face the mirror, and that terrifies them. The same power they use to control others is the wall that keeps them from healing. They control because they fear being seen as small, unworthy, forgotten. But it's not your job to fix them. You can have compassion without compliance. You can forgive without returning to the cage. Every boundary you build is a declaration of your freedom. Say it to yourself: I am not your project. I am not your possession. I am not here to be controlled. Each time you affirm this truth, their grip weakens. Their power dissolves under the light of your awareness. The greatest rebellion against a narcissist isn't anger, it's independence. It's choosing peace over approval, strength over submission. It's realizing your worth doesn't need their validation. When you walk away from manipulation, you walk into clarity. You remember what they tried to make you forget: that your soul was never meant to be owned. A narcissist's world revolves around one thing: admiration. It's their fuel, their drug, their air. Without constant validation, they crumble from the inside out. They don't just crave attention, they depend on it to exist. Every compliment, every nod of approval becomes a dose of survival. But that hunger isn't confidence, it's emptiness. When you first meet a narcissist, it feels magnetic. They seem charming, confident, full of life. You mistake their confidence for strength. But it's not strength, it's performance. They are actors on a stage, and admiration keeps the curtain from falling. The moment the applause stops, they feel invisible. And invisibility feels like death to them. Their obsession with admiration isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. They don't worship truth, humility, or growth. They worship their image. They build altars to their ego and seek followers instead of connection. That's why they can't stand when you stop clapping. You stop being their reflection, and that breaks the illusion. Their addiction to admiration also fuels comparison. They can't celebrate others because someone else's success feels like their failure. They'll copy, compete, or criticize anyone who shines too brightly. They're drawn to people with light not to celebrate it, but to steal it. That's why empaths often attract narcissists. Your compassion feeds their emptiness. Your light fills the void they can't face. This addiction blinds them to higher purpose. They chase validation from people instead of peace from within. But admiration without accountability becomes poison. It feeds ego but starves character. The more they chase attention, the more hollow they become. They can have crowds cheering for them and still feel unseen, because admiration is external, but fulfillment is internal. That's why they constantly need new supply, new attention, new followers, new partners. When one person stops feeding them, they find another, not because they've found love, but because they need a fix. It's not romance, it's addiction disguised as affection. When you stop giving them energy, they panic. They'll try to pull you back with charm, guilt, or nostalgia. But it's not you they miss, it's your attention. You were never their partner, you were their audience. When you stop performing, their illusion collapses. You don't need to feed anyone's false sense of greatness to prove your loyalty. You're not here to worship brokenness. The admiration they demand is fake worship meant to keep you small. But you were never meant to worship people. You were meant to honor truth. When you stop feeding their addiction, your energy returns to you. The silence that once scared you starts to feel sacred. You stop chasing approval and start finding alignment. Peace replaces performance. That's when you reclaim your power, not by being louder, but by refusing to be their reflection. But perhaps their deepest addiction is chaos. Where peace lives, they feel powerless. Where harmony grows, they feel invisible. They thrive in storms because confusion keeps them in control. When things get calm, they panic because silence forces them to face what's missing inside. So they stir the waters: a sudden argument, a cruel comment, a petty fight, anything to bring the drama back. They are emotional arsonists, setting fires just to see you rush in and put them out. They create problems so they can play the victim or the hero, whichever gets them more attention. Every time peace begins to grow, they sabotage it. It's not coincidence, it's conditioning. They've trained themselves to equate calm with danger because calmness reveals truth. Where chaos reigns, they feel powerful. When you're exhausted and confused, they control the story. They twist words, deny facts, and make you question yourself. That's not just manipulation, it's emotional warfare. They want you tired enough to surrender. But peace is your shield. They mistake calmness for weakness, not realizing it's the most powerful force you have. When you stay peaceful in their storm, you take away their control. You show them that your emotions are no longer theirs to command. Chaos to them is life. Stillness feels like death. But every time you choose calm over reaction, you weaken their grip. You don't need to fight for peace, you just need to stop feeding their fire. They will call your silence arrogance, your boundaries betrayal, your peace distance. But those are the cries of someone losing control. You weren't created to live in confusion. You were meant for clarity. The storm wasn't your home, it was your awakening. Their final addiction is the one that ties them all together, the addiction to your energy. Not your body, not your time, not your love, but your energy. They crave the light within you, your empathy, your strength, your warmth. They don't want to heal their emptiness. They want to feed on your fullness. They sense your light the moment they meet you. They mirror it, mimic it, and use it to draw you in. They wear empathy like a mask until they've secured your trust. Then they start to drain you slowly, silently, until you forget who you were before them. They can't create peace, so they destroy yours. They can't feel joy, so they provoke you until you lose yours. They use emotions like fuel, feeding on every reaction, every tear, every apology. They build dependency by making you chase their approval. That's how they trap you, not with love, but with exhaustion. But you are not their battery. You are not their source. You are light itself. When you stop feeding them, their illusion collapses. They'll call you selfish for setting boundaries, cold for protecting your peace, ungrateful for walking away. But that's not truth, that's withdrawal. You're not their cure. You were their supply. They'll always chase what they can't control. They'll move from person to person, searching for new energy to consume, but it's never enough. It's like pouring light into a black hole, it disappears. They can't be healed until they face their emptiness. Your job isn't to fix them, it's to free yourself. You were never meant to sustain someone else's brokenness. Your empathy was meant to heal, not to be harvested. Your love was meant to uplift, not to be used. They don't hate you, they hate that they can't control the light in you. They envy your peace, your strength, your ability to rise after them. Their addiction isn't about love, it's about survival. But you don't owe them your energy. The same light they tried to take is now what will guide you back to freedom, to clarity, and to your true self.